It's the second video of the day. Just recorded the articulating your thoughts video, and I mean, which is kind of a spontaneous video. I was meant to be recording this video first, but I thought I need to record that video before this one, which is about what really defines you. I think there's two major areas I want to think about when looking at this this area. So I'd say the major thing for me, you can tell what really defines a person. One of the biggest tests is how they react to certain situations, but obviously particularly situations that are painful. And yeah, you can tell by someone by how they are with their current demeanor, and you can almost slightly predict, not specific scenarios, but predict that in the past they've had certain situations to make them this way. Let me say, like, you generally have archetypes of people, and generally humans will behave in certain ways because of certain events in the past. AKA, if you find people who aren't very emotional or have trust issues, usually you tend to find, and of course this is very generic, so I'm not going to say this happens on every single case, but you tend to find usually that those kind of people in the past were maybe open with their emotions, even dating back to childhood, or were trusting, and either one, their emotions were shut down because of whatever environment they were in, or two, they trusted people in the past and they felt betrayed. And they felt betrayed so many times, the pain that they felt, because the feeling of like betrayal, even amongst a friend who you really like, even amongst loved ones, is so damaging. It's like one of the worst feelings you can feel. If a loved one betrays you, or like a really close friend or something betrays you, it's a real kind of it can be a real kick in the privates. And I think probably for people sometimes the worst feeling people can get, and it really kind of, that's the thought that usually brings about the idea of, I'm really feeling alone, people don't really understand me, etc., etc., which is big for humans, because we want to feel like we're understood, and we want to feel loved, and we want to feel like we fit into something. So that idea that there's been that sense of betrayal by someone who's most precious to you can almost kind of bring the whole blocks of your reality come to a tumbling crash. So if we look at painful experiences, I mean, going back to the original point, how it's not these experiences that define you. I think that's a common misconception. People think like, oh, certain experiences in people's life define how they are, certain events happened in the past, etc., and therefore they are this person today. I think that's not right. As I said, it's a common misconception. It's not the actual event itself that defines the person, or the specific kind of case where there was a certain amount of pain, or the pain itself that defines the person. It's how the person responds to said event or said pain that really defines who they are. I'll give you an example from I don't really want to bring much personal into this because I want to talk theoretically, but I think stories generally are the best way to communicate messaging, etc. And also, well, I'll open up and be a bit more trustful. So when I was in university, I had a relationship where I was very open with I think I might have even mentioned this in my self-confidence video, but I was very open with a new person I met and started dating, and at the time I didn't want to have sex with someone until I felt like I was ready for that, because I wanted to have a bit of an emotional connection before having sex. Like for me, during the late teenage years, sex was definitely interesting, but it was never like the means all to end all. I kind of saw a lot of people kind of with their behaviour motivated by sex, and for me I didn't really like that. So I was kind of cautious, and I felt like the first time I would have sex with someone was because, you know, there was a great level of meaning between each other. So, you know, I've said to people I've dated in the past that, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm a virgin, I haven't had sex yet, and I will do that when I'm ready. And I have disclosed it with this particular one at the beginning, and I said, you know, are you okay with this? Because obviously, you know, for some people that doesn't fly, and also they find it a bit kind of, I don't know, conservative or a bit limiting. And I said, you know, are you okay with this? Because if you're not, then we can just, you know, carry on our lives, you know, normally it's just as friends. I don't want to put the pressure on you, etc. But of course, if you do say yes, then obviously you're going to have to be patient, and you're going to have to be, well, patient until I'm ready, you know, ready to commit like that. And so she said yes. And I kind of like to try and, when I'm in a relationship, kind of, you know, give people a lot of the benefit of the doubt and be open and open with them, because of course, if I don't feel like, if you have a sense of trust with your partner, then it's pretty much over, you know. So I think I feel like I need to be open from the beginning, and of course that means this level, a sense of vulnerability. But you know, it's good to be open and vulnerable, because then you're able to create more emotional connections. Sometimes actually, if you're more closed off, it actually causes relationships to well, to never pick off the ground. But actually, I'm realizing now, this is when I'm articulating my thoughts, that I'm actually going to a different area here. So I won't go too much into specifics on this specific case. I think I'll maybe talk about another time about kind of relationships and being open and being trustful, and why it's important, and also the vulnerability and being able to deal with that. But getting back to the point, in the end, I was, you know, open, trustful, didn't try and control her, wasn't jealous, etc., etc., because of, you know, the issues that come with that. And in the end, she ended up cheating on me. And of course that was a painful experience to pay, because I felt really betrayed about someone who I thought I was getting really along well with, and of course my perception was wrong, and also she betrayed me, and of course that feeling feels horrible. And I think no one would object to me going, well, you know what, I'm not going to be as trusting anymore, I'm not going to be as open, you know, I'm not going to be giving people as much of the benefit of the doubt, because, you know, I've been betrayed. You know, humans are capable of betrayal all the time, and you know, I'm just going to become more closed and more guarded, so that next time I kind of get into the situation, I'll protect myself a bit more. I think that's the natural thing, and no one would blame someone for thinking that. However, the thing is, at the end of the day, you have to think about it, is that this person has done a bad act towards you, and now you've changed as a person. You've become less trusting, less open, less forthright, because of this bad deed that's been done towards you. So she, in essence, has influenced that change, and you've decided, as a result of this painful experience that occurred to you, to become more closed. So you've allowed this painful situation to drive you to become more of a closed and have more of these negative characteristics. And you shouldn't allow someone, or even give them the benefit, not the satisfaction, but give them that power over you to change you like that. And for me, kind of, you know, because I had some experiences in the past as well, where I had reflections and realised that I had changed because of painful experiences, and for the worse. And I think with this situation, I didn't allow that negative situation to change who I was, to become more insular. I was obviously angry and frustrated. Those were my feelings. But then I thought, okay, but what do I really believe here? At the end of the day, weirdly enough, I was kind of glad that I did pursue that, because if I was jealous and controlling, we might have lasted maybe another like 4 or 5 months in a relationship, because maybe because I was more controlling, she would have felt more kind of cautious about sleeping behind my back. But because obviously I gave her that freedom and that trust, etc., she then showed her true colours, and she showed that she was someone who could cheat. And for me, that was, even though it was bad to happen to me, and I wouldn't have liked it to happen, but in essence, it saved me 3 or 4 months. You know, I was able to find out who she truly was earlier on because I trusted her. And it's, yeah, and then I didn't waste my time with someone who I wasn't going to end up being with, because I was actually trusting her and open, and so what was good for me actually came out. And I know it might feel like a weird way to perceive that whole thing, but then also I didn't give her, for me in my head, especially because I was feeling a bit angry sometimes, I didn't give her the satisfaction that what she did could affect me in such a huge way, could transform my life. I'm like, no, I know who I am, I know what I believe in, okay? And just because one person has done a shitty thing to me and broken my trust, doesn't mean that everyone else will do that, and that I shouldn't give that person the benefit of the doubt. You know, the next person I date wasn't her, okay? It's someone else. It's a new person, all right? Why do I give them less of a chance because of the mistake of the previous girl? You know, I gave the previous girl a huge chance. Why do I not give the next girl a huge chance? That's not fair, because you know, the previous girl did something bad to me. And also for me, again, I'm not going to allow this person to change who I am. So the whole story means is, again, going back to it, is it's not the painful experience that defines who we are, it's how we react to those painful experiences. And you'll find, especially as people get older, you know, you start off useful and idealistic, etc., etc., and you have all these positive traits, and then over time you find out the world is actually a bit darker than it is, and you feel like you need to protect yourself a bit more against all these negative things, and then you end up, in essence, you have a core, who you are, and you feel like that core has been assaulted so many times by painful experiences that you don't want to feel that pain anymore. Because of course, why would you want to feel that pain anymore? So what people do is they put walls up. They put walls up in front of that core to protect themselves against these painful experiences. But then what happens is when they put these walls up, they've shut the light out to this core of who you really are, like your inner self, and then you start to become a bit of a darker character, and you don't recognize yourself anymore. You start to change, and you become nihilistic, and you start to kind of see threats to yourself and your self-confidence where there aren't any, and you just become a lot more mistrusting, and you close your eyes to the world. And you know, yes, the world has a lot of negative and crappy things that can throw at you, but also they have some amazing things, and you limit yourself. You know, it's like, imagine if, I've seen it countless times with friends and people where, you know, they are less trusting and they're less open because of past experiences. And I'm like, you're all right to feel that. But then what's happened is they've actually missed out on amazing people, amazing partners, you know, amazing opportunities, because they have this kind of defensive approach to life, this risk-averse approach to life. You know, they're like, oh, you know, as long as I just minimize the pain, then life will be okay. It's like, oh, what a terrible way to view the world. I'll just live my life to mitigate the risk, mitigate the pain. It's like, surely you want to have a life where you can try and maximize the things that make you feel happiest most, spend the time with the people you love the most, and actually, when a partner comes along who might be amazing, you're there to take on that. You're there to take that a massive opportunity. But of course, if you have this defensive style, you may up one missing it, and also even warding that person away because of these negative traits that you've picked up because of how people have inflicted on you this in the past. And it's really sad. It's a real shame. So don't allow painful experiences to manipulate who you are as a character. You know, for me in that case, it was, I didn't become less trusting, I didn't become less open because this person did a painful thing to me. I maintained it. I'm like, you're not going to change who I am, okay? You're not going to allow your shitty act, your issue is not going to then become an issue for me and a way for me to transform into a more negative person. No, I'm not going to do that. So again, what defines you is how you react to the painful experiences, you know? It's not easy. It's not easy to, after a painful experience that happened to you, to actually then become even more forthright or more what you were. You know, naturally, of course, we're going to want to recoil and we're going to want to become more defensive, etc. That's the easy thing to do. You know, that's like the natural thing that we kind of generally, if you don't think about it, that's naturally what happens. You know, we become more defensive. But then you've got to think, what's the cost? How much am I actually damaging who I am, my inner core? So rather than trying to protect your inner core and putting up these walls and shutting out the light and becoming more a negative person, why don't you actually lower the walls down and focus on the core? Because if your core is strong, if you have self-confidence, if you have self-belief, if you know who you are and what you want, when these painful experiences do come, okay, because I'm not going to lie that, you know, once you make the core better, the painful experiences will go away. They won't. They will still come. They will still be there. Because that's life. But you'll be able to deal with them. You know, you'll be able to deal with them, deal with your emotions, and strengthen it. And everything, trust me, everything will be better. Your friendships will be better. Your relationships will be better. Your outlook on life will be better. Your feeling of purpose, of accomplishment, of happiness, all of these things will be so much better. So much better. I'll give you like another example, you know, kind of, and this will be maybe another video on kind of, oh gosh, another video on stuff, emotions, but I'll give you one kind of thing in terms of going back to protecting that core. You know, let's say you're going for a new job, you know, and you're like, say you're like, I don't know, a coordinator and you're going for a manager position, right? And you're going for the interview and you feel the fear because you're like, oh, this is something I've never done before. This is something really new to me. This is something actually maybe even above what I'm capable of, okay? And of course, that, imagine the core and then the fear is coming towards you, and usually what you do is the barrier that people would usually raise when they've raised fear is like, okay, the barrier I'm going to raise to block fear out is I'm going to walk away, or I'm going to just run away from the fear, and that's the barrier. And of course then, yeah, that protects you, you know, you then don't experience the fearful situation, but at the same time the wall you've put up has made your core a bit darker, and that means you're a person who is less likely to take risks or less likely to do things that actually make you happier or give you purpose. And so I think, but then if you really think about it, as if your core is strong, a strong core would go, okay, I'm feeling fear right now, you know, like it's a bit paralyzing, but why am I feeling fear? Because this thing is important, because I want to get this sense of accomplishment, I want to progress. And usually you feel fear in situations where it's like a chance for you to improve or to overcome something. And so actually you need to look at fear as like, oh, you know what? This is like a sign that actually what I'm doing is the right thing. When you feel fear, you know you're on the right path. It's almost like a little, it's like, you know, like the emotion of happiness, you know, like when you do something, like when you go around to a friend's house and you're having a good laugh, and you know you're laughing and you're feeling happiness because what you're doing is good. The emotions are telling you what I'm doing is good, and so you take that emotion of happiness, go, I like that, and I want to experience it again. Now with fear, you take that emotion of fear and you go, yeah, it's like fear, I'm experiencing fear, but what it's telling me is that, you know, I'm on the right path here because it's a challenge and it's something I'm not used to and I need to push myself. And so actually, I'm glad I have a bit of fear here because it's telling me I'm doing the right thing. And so you keep going, you carry on, you go to that interview and you do it. I'm not saying you're being successful and stuff like that, but it's kind of like almost kind of a sense. It's kind of like your kind of senses are telling you, yes, you're on the right path here, but just don't be paralyzed by what you usually would be, which is the fear. And that's the core. You let fear in. You don't raise the wall. You don't become more insecure. You don't kind of run away from stuff. You're like, if the core is strong, you can deal with that emotion. So focus on strengthening your core rather than raising the walls around the core. I wish I could draw a diagram or something like that. I always kind of talk about this, like there are those who have strong cores and can deal with these things in life and become positive and more courageous and grow as a person, and then there are those who experience emotions that damages the core, and then their responses, they're going to raise walls up and the place becomes so much darker. And then again, you can tell with people when they're like less trusting, you can tell that they've had issues in the past where their trust has been broken and their walls are raised, and they just seem like a bit more of a shadow is kind of cast over them, and it's really sad to see. So that really defines who you are. How you react to these painful experiences is it really defines who you are. Don't let the painful experiences define you. How you react to them defines you. Okay? When you have a painful experience, you're like, no, me in this situation, I am not a person who is, like say someone's, let's say someone's showing jealousy, like I'm not going to then show jealousy back. I'm not a jealous person. That's not who I am. That's one thing that defines you. But then also, this kind of leads on to the other thing as well, is sometimes we feel like, we do certain things, and this is something I've very struggled with for life, and not until recent years have I kind of really been able to tackle. But let's say, you're like a person who's really just very complimentary and just very positive about people, and you have a friend, who isn't really that much. So you're constantly like, giving them some compliments and being really positive, like, oh, come on. I'm going to give Matt, I don't know, I'm just using Matt as my example of the time now. I'm like, hey, like Matt, come on, like you're a really awesome guy, you've done this, this and this. So you're constantly being the one who's positive to them, but they never really are positive back to you. And after a while you're like, oh, come on, dude, like, I'm always kind of being really positive to you and really always helping you out, but you're not really helping me out. And then so what happens is you kind of feel like after a while you don't feel it's reciprocated, and you go, you know what, like I'm worth more than this. Like I can't keep just giving out all the time and not getting reciprocation back. So what I'm going to do is, Matt, if you don't, well, you're not saying this to him, but you're thinking in your head, if you don't kind of give, positivity to me back like I do to you, and constantly support me like I support you, then I'm just not going to support you as much. I'm just going to sink down to your level. And so then what happens is, as I said, is you sink down to their level. You become less supportive. You become less complimentary. And you think that's just to one person, but then you start kind of doing that to other people. Like it becomes pathological in your head. And so then what's happened is someone else's actions, or the way someone else is has influenced who you are and what you decide that you're going to do and how you're going to behave. And now you've become, in essence, that negative experiences have made you more negative. And yeah, it's a real shame, but you should be more that no, just because someone doesn't reciprocate these kind of things or give me back what I want doesn't mean that I'm then going to change or sink down to the level. I am a positive person. I am a complimentary person, okay? And I'm doing it not for the reciprocation alone. I'm doing it there because that's who I am. That's what I believe in. It's a sense of self-identity. My name's Sam. So Sam is a person who is this. Sam is a person who gives compliments. Sam is a person who is positive, and I'm going to stick with that because that's who Sam is. That's who the character of Sam is. And I'm not going to change that because someone might not do that as well or reciprocate that as well. I kind of saw it in work the other day. It's like, it's weird. It was like, our department will help the other departments because, it's just what we need to do. we don't feel like we get, you know, we don't get stuff back from other departments, because, you know, they're not as good at it as us. But you know, we're just going to continue to do that, and we hope we get reciprocation eventually. And I was thinking, no, that's not why you're doing it. Like, we are helpful to other people not because we expect reciprocation. It's because that's who we are. That's our character, you know, and that's what we believe in, right? And so stick with that, not because you expect it to be reciprocated. That's because who you are. And I feel like we'd see a lot more people who had more positive attributes about themselves if they kind of thought about it in that way. Because I think a lot of the time people do start with these positive attributes, but then over time it's one, painful experiences, or two, it's kind of standards and reciprocation that kind of lowers us down constantly. You know, and that's why, you know, a lot of people's society might not be as good at characters as they could be. But if we kind of maintain it, not because of reciprocation, because of who we believe, who we are. Sam is a person who is confident, who has self-belief, who loves kind of supporting his friends, who loves you know, giving his friends the best he can give. He's a person who can be loving, etc., etc. And that's not going to change because, you know, you may not get it back, or sometimes, you know, someone might betray you, or life kind of kicks you in the teeth or stuff like that. At the end of the day, know who you are, stick to it, have the conviction to stick to it. And also, at the end of the day, if you maintain that level of character, then people will really appreciate that. Because at the end of the day, like, everyone loves positive attributes, and sometimes people don't appreciate it, but there are people who come along who will. And those people who do come along will be absolutely amazing. Rather than don't sink down to everyone else, because if you do, then you're just going to be another person, and you won't have anything special about you. You'll just be another person who just has the issues, who has the trust issues, who is kind of defensive, who has his walls up, who's not very complimentary, not very positive. You can find loads of these people, and of course you're not going to be naturally attracted to that kind of person. But if you are a strong character who has these strong sense of beliefs, yes, you're not going to get that reciprocation. It will hurt sometimes, but, you know, you will feel the accomplishment of, yes, but I know who I am, and I am happy with what I am doing. I believe in what I am doing. And wow, this video is 27 minutes long. I was expecting it to be shorter, but I do love to ramble. I probably haven't articulated all of my points here, and I hope I'm kind of getting across what I mean, but it's made me think about it, you know, more, and I'm probably thinking about it with these kind of videos where, particularly going back to my articulation video, is I'll probably do like a version 2 of these videos, because now I've kind of articulated it even more again, and I'll be able to even like listen back to it. I'll probably be able to add stuff, like I know I'm doing like a version 2, well, an add-on to my best friends video, because I missed something, and there was something else I kind of reflected on as well. So yeah, I'm really happy, like, with this kind of stuff, and this is exactly why I'm doing it. It's making me really think about these kind of things, and I think about it with my friends, but then sometimes I kind of forget again. So this is really cool. I'm glad I'm doing it. I hope you guys, I'm not expecting many people to listen, but, you know, if you are listening as well, I hope you found some use out of it as well, as much as I have. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your guys' days. And, you know, I feel like I need like an I don't know, like an outro thing. Maybe someone can recommend something like, you know, make life a beautiful ride. That sounds very cheesy. I don't know, something I can use with a beautiful ride. I'm thinking now that I'm doing this kind of creative thinking while recording a video rather than when I should be doing it off recording. But that just shows how informal these videos are. Life can be a beautiful ride. See you later.